Hi, this is Robert Clinky-Beard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders and business owners to provide you with some value to scale your business and to become a better leader and push yourself out of your comfort zone. We encourage you to like and share with everyone to spread our messages. I'm super excited to announce our new partnership with Weathermatic. For most landscape companies, irrigation is an untapped gold mine for growth and profit, but labor and process problems stand in the way. So Weathermatic has created a partnership to package mobile technology and software with proven business solutions to tackle the perennial irrigation challenges and take your operations to a whole new level. I encourage you to reach out to Weathermatic and learn more. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clinky-Beard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. Really excited today to be joined by Willard Moore. Willard has now joined the Wilson 360 team, and I think my knowledge of AI and technology has doubled in the last couple of months. So welcome to the show, Willard.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, we have quite a big audience, all places around the world, and they don't know Willard Moore. So maybe give me a 2 or 3 minute snapshot, because I know you can go so many different directions, but a snapshot into summarizing who Willard is.
Yeah, so I feel like I've had a little bit of practice on summarizing that over the past few days or weeks. Robert's been introducing me to so many different people and gotten to meet so many of you guys. The thing that I would explain introducing myself is that, yes, I'm a technology expert. And so a lot of people think, great, you know what? He probably doesn't understand blue collar. He probably doesn't understand putting in some sweat. My background, like growing up, my father was a drill instructor in the Marines. And then after his time in the Marines, he started his own carpet cleaning company. And he did that for so long. So his father has cleaned carpet and he's probably got 50 years of experience. I remember having to figure out on the map, where are we going? I'm a passenger in the seat because I'm just a teenager, and he wouldn't trust me to drive with all of his equipment in the vehicle or anything yet, too big of an insurance liability. But
Right.
I learned working really hard with him. That's part of room and board, and the thing that made me get into technology is really that, like, my father was really good at his trade, but what he wasn't really good at was making the most out of his earnings. Like, he wasn't really good at raising his prices. He had competitors that were doing half the quality at twice the price. And my father was just a good person. He would do what's right by people. And so I really share and admire that. I just, with how long my father has worked in that kind of a labor, I mean, it wears on your body. I mean, the kind of things. I don't know how it affects your body when it comes to landscape, but like, my father can't open his hand first thing in the morning without help. His hand is clenched like a fist, and so those are real things. And watching my father like go through all that and the developments that it had on him, I knew that I could be successful cleaning carpet, but I knew the impact that it was going to have on my kids and on my ability to be with my family. And I've got two little girls right now, a 1-year old and a 3-year old, and I get to be home because I made the choice to focus on something that allows me to work from home, but is also, like, the reason I chose the skill set that I have is because people like my father, the only thing that was stopping them from being more successful was they didn't understand how to use the current technologies, the current things that exist to help him get out there better. Google My Business, that wasn't a thing. You know, uh, how, People were still doing webs. What's a website? You know, why should I care? His phone number was the thing. We still get phone calls. He shut down that business. I get phone calls because of the reputation that my father has built in what it is that he's done.
That's awesome.
So with all the changes that's happening in the world, what are the changes that you have to do to keep up with your business? So I just love business. and that's what's got me into it.
Well, I know you obviously took that passion, took that vision into, working for some pretty cool companies. I mean, I think from memory, Netflix was one
Yeah.
of them. Several other pretty high profile names.
Yeah, I've worked at Apple, I've worked at Netflix, I worked at TruHearing, which is a white label healthcare. Basically, they focus on hearing aids. It's big software. They're literally processing millions of orders, and millions of dollars all the time. I can't say how frequently, but because it's been a few years. I've worked at big companies, I've worked at small companies. I love startups because the thing that I like big places like Netflix because of the vast amounts of knowledge that you can understand, and it's basically getting an MBA without college. But at the same time, I really love startups because when you are working at those bigger companies, you get this gap between the work that you're doing and the effect that it actually has on people. So the smaller companies that you're at, you can see the difference of what you do. And nobody wants to work on something that at the end of the day is just going to get thrown away or doesn't make a difference.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
that's why I like the smaller places, but I've bounced back and forth between both of them. I was a CTO at a solar company, and we made big changes there. So and we knew the people that it was affecting. We knew the customers. We made software that affected the employees, and just focusing on gamification, you know, behavior, focus on behavior, and making sure that your tools actually align towards the behavioral change that you're wanting, which is really, really hard, right?
Obviously, a very impressive history. And you being at the sort of the forefront of all these changes in technology and AI, and you're probably seeing, just becoming lightning fast these days. How are you seeing that those types of changes affect how a business operates?
It's been a few years since I've been at Netflix, but AI is becoming very, very popular. People are talking about it more and more. But before AI was like the hot topic for people to be talking about, some of these bigger companies were already using it. Like Netflix, for example, has software for figuring out when they're creating content, scheduling. Actors are expensive. And what if we could schedule things to happen out of order when it comes to creating a season or a series on Netflix? If we scheduled them to happen out of order chronologically, then we can optimize the schedule efficiencies for the actors that we have to reduce the amount of costs. Ultimately, when it comes to things like just producing content, Netflix is saving at least $1 million per season that they create content for, just by being able to understand and have the data, and then being able to use that to create the decisions that we need to make. So, and that's just one aspect. You could look at it when it comes to support. They got a system there called Droid Speak, which will transcribe all of the conversations and aggregate that with the chats for anything that's happening, within customer service. And we use that to create word clouds to determine, well, what's the most popular thing that we're seeing on the support side, and can we be more proactive rather than reactive and waiting for all these tickets? Do we have something that's big and emerging that we can solve, before somebody even gets the writing up to us?
So,
And
give
we've done that.
give an example of that. If they're analyzing the conversations in the chat and they're seeing a general theme, then rather than just ignore that data, they're then using it to either change how they deliver either the content or
Yeah. So, for example, one of the things that we had seen that help us with is, there's a lot of different titles when it comes to Netflix, and then you also have the trailers, right? So we have had content where the trailer is not matching the title, and you wouldn't know that if your native language is English and maybe it's only happening in a certain language or in a certain region. Netflix is a global company, right? So maybe the issue is not specific to just the title not matching with the preview. It could be, just in Turkey. It could be just in Japan. But we've been able to like find the information about like, great, this I'm specifically thinking about there was a kids show where the preview was not a kids show. And, kids profile, they would expect kids content. And here we're looking at a preview for an action and a title in the action category. That really doesn't belong on dyno trucks.
Sure,
And so great. Now that we were able to identify that so quickly before we've even had customer service telling us, like, these are just chats that are coming in, but the word cloud shouldn't be changing too quickly. And when it does, it alerts us. It's like, oh, hey, by the way, Netflix uses a lot of terminology from Star Wars, so droid speak. You could see that there were some changes, and from there, we could identify just using some analytics. You got some data analysts just crunching numbers and figuring out, is it certain device types? Just asking the right questions. Is it a certain region? And because we had access to the data is what really allowed us to start to be more proactive and timely with our responses. But I'm seeing that that's not just like within Netflix. Like that was before AI was super popular that we were doing that. And now with ChatGPT, which came out, after my time there, after those things were already in play, people are able to do that with a lot more. So, I have quite a number of books that I read. I love reading books. But what if you could load all of your books into an AI and then have the AI take on the persona of the author and have a conversation with the author? Maybe not the real author, but just as close as you could to the next thing.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. So I have different personas created within ChatGPT. Using ChatGPT 4, you can load in your own content. And so I have different personas. So if I want to have a conversation with Alex Hermosi about sales and load in my own data, working at Wilson, I've grabbed, some of the transactions and receipts and thrown that in there and said, hey, where's the best opportunity to save money? And it's been able to categorize the expenses for me and say, well, here's what you're spending here and here's what the cost is compared. It's expounding what it is that we can do now.
I know obviously you don't have really any background in landscaping or other sort of service companies, which is good and bad. You said that you've been challenging me with just some of the questions you've been asking me, and it's given me sort of pause to thoughts about, oh, well, maybe I do need to explain that more or whatever. But, I've also explained to you how, the landscape business has now become, I don't know if overwhelmed is the right word, but certainly there's a lot more data available between the GPS tracking trucks. We have software systems like Aspire or BossLM. We have timesheets. We have crew routing. We have Weathermatics in there. Programs out there with all this data being generated, but I think that's just because of our either lack of knowledge or lack of expertise in the business. Nobody's pulling that data together. Nobody's slicing and dicing it and trying to figure out how can I best use that data to become either more profitable or better routing or more efficiency or maybe reducing your workforce. So where do you see some of the potential opportunities that we should be exploring?
Yeah, so potential opportunities. Before we begin this conversation, I was telling you that I literally threw a number of these kinds of questions into ChatGPT. I've got it preloaded with some customizations that I've given it. Here's some background into landscape. Here's some some additional things. And with that, some of the answers that I've been able to get from it, like, where is this going to change? What kind of things do we have to look forward to? And it gave back quite a number of different answers. We've got predictive analysis for plant health, automated irrigation systems, drone and satellite imaging for landscape designs, robotic lawn care and maintenance, customer preference analysis, to be able to really focus on improving your customer satisfaction and understanding what things they care about. And resource management and logistics. Sure, that's going to be a hot one, right? What if because we have access to the weather, and weather within 24 to 48 hours is generally pretty accurate, what if you could just change the route that you were handling all your jobs based off of weather to be the least impactful on your ability to perform on a job site, or adjusting whether or not you are watering X amount based off of, rain that's expected to happen. You don't want the grass too wet. You don't want it too dry. Things like that make a difference. So the more data that you just have together, the more that you could start to create your own GPT, where you've got an expert that is an expert specifically on you, on your business, on your data set. Great. These are my customers. I'm focused on maintenance. I'm focused on new builds. Maybe understanding what's the latest market trends in specific landscape design, even if you're not currently in design, or getting the designs to be generated for you. The AI it can make images, it can create mock-ups, it can do all sorts of different things for you. So it really just depends upon, the focuses that you have within your landscaping company, as to which of these options are, the best ones for you. But ultimately, I see this becoming the ability to fill in the gap of, I don't need to be a business expert. I don't need to understand everything. I can just understand and know what I'm good at, and have this thing fill in the rest.
I mean, I think I even see a couple of examples you came up with. I know Bruce Wilson always talks about a certain contractor who was, making 30-40% net profit. And a lot of that was around, good routing, getting super detailed about, whether grass in certain areas does need cut or not based on the height of it. If you had that ability to be able to measure geography areas within your footprint, can you get away with cutting a little bit less if you're on a performance contract? There's some information there around watering or better routing or use of machinery rather than every truck having been loaded up with machines. Could that be halved based on the actual route that job takes, or whether the grass actually needs cut? So I can see a lot of great potential out there.
Yeah, there's so many different ways, like just on the customer side of it, right? If you've got any kind of either audio or written communication from your customer, you can analyze that to determine the sentiment, as they're calling it, which will tell you, great, this person's in a happy demeanor. This person's not. Maybe only when they're speaking about certain things. And then you can also use that to identify, why did this person buy? Are they sold on reliability? Are they sold on the experience? Are they sold on the quality? Are they sold on the speed? Yeah. And the sentiment scores of how a person communicates can help you to understand the psychology of why they buy, and can allow you to then structure your communication styles aligning with what that person is looking to hear. I mean, you can get that level of detail, right? Now, most people are not diving that far in, but that exists. That's a thing that people do. And as far as like routing, for example, I've got some experience in logistics, specifically with oversized loads. Most trucks are 12'6", and a lot of these oversized loads are a lot bigger than that. Well, that sign that's on your overpass, it might say 14.0, but we all know that the ground settles and things happen. 14.0 may or may not be accurate. Right. And may have a piece of rebar. There's data out there from sources that have collected enough of it, where when they've been able to get a state permitted route, they've been able to go back to the state and say, hey, I can't make it through that. I need a different route. And how much time energy and effort does that save for you to just know before you're actually there? We don't have that in landscape. We don't have a windmill sitting waiting for directions around an overpass. But the more I learn about the problems that we are solving within landscape, it's the same technology that you could leverage for either of it, any of these kind of issues.
Super almost exciting, but also in some ways overwhelming because you start thinking about all the possibilities now. Now, whether it's you or whether it's somebody else, because they're probably thinking here, there's so many applications I can think of where because somebody can analyze my data or make some improvements here and there, but where do I start? I mean, for example, if you were to go into a company, whatever trade it is, what does that look like? I mean, are you just basically observing? Are you asking a lot of questions, or all of the above?
So I focus on observations and asking questions because ultimately at the end of the day, the kinds of things that Robert and Wilson are doing already to help businesses improve, it's the same thing. The question is whether or not you're the tooling that you're using, which tools are you using? AI just means that you don't have to pay people as much as you could pay, and you could leverage your resources better is all that it really means.
Right.
You don't have to necessarily cut down on the number of heads that you have. It just means that the heads are now focusing on higher level, higher value adding activities. So yeah, the way that I see this as far as getting in and jumping in is really just focusing on the basics. Keep it simple. You already know the areas that are not operating as efficiently. And if you don't know how to solve them, find people that do. Or use AI. AI can have a conversation with ChatGPT. That'll get you started. Especially if you've got somebody with the knowledge and experience of been there, done that. That's really where it comes down to it. And then AI is really just the momentum. It'll keep that momentum going much further, much faster. And so really, just keep it simple. Yes, AI can overwhelm and it can do so much, but at the end of the day, you already know what you need.
Yeah, you just focus on the area that's maybe hurting you the most. So how do people get hold of you if they want to just at least even have a conversation with you? What's the best way for them to contact you?
LinkedIn is probably one of the best places. I am here at Wilson, so you guys know how to find Wilson. And between those two, that's probably the best way to get in touch with me. Willard at wilson360.com and LinkedIn. Those are the best places.
Cool, awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time today. I know you've just given a really short, high level intro into this, but the reason why I want to do that is just to at least get people thinking about how can AI, how can technology start to make your business more profitable, make more efficient. I think obviously with having data, usually that comes with better ability to make good decisions. So, well, I really do appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
I appreciate being on here. I guess one last statement is trust in God. All others must bring data. So just, the more data that you can have available for your business, the more prepared you are for leveraging AI.
Awesome. Good parting statement. So, Lord, again, thank you again for your time. We'll get this out in the next few weeks, and hopefully people will enjoy it. Thanks again.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Hopefully that was pure, dead brilliant for you today, and you got some great takeaways for your business or your leadership role. This is Robert Clickybeard. We'd love to get you and your friends to join us in our future journey. So please subscribe to our various podcast channels or visit thecommerciallandscaper.com or wilson360.com. Love you to join you there. We have our new 360 Plus community program we'd love you to sign up for. It's on the far right-hand side of our website. Thanks again for our partner, Weathermatic, and I encourage you to reach out to them. Have a pure, dead, brilliant day. Cheers, everyone.